Hey, it's me, MLB. Here is chapter 42 of BNHA Second Generation, and this one is titled Student Takeover. We should make some plans now, while Condor and Seismic Kana are on their way, Soshi said, clicking into student hero mode. Do something to start the ball rolling, capture this thief. Yeah, okay, Chi said. Soshi, you go and use your ice to cool the vents down, keep him distracted. And Ginny, you glue the vents closed. But I can't detach the glue from my fingers, she replied with a worried look on her face. How am I going to close off all of the vents? Gonna have to reach far then and just glue as many closed as you can, he replied. And what will you do while we're doing that? Soshi asked him. I'm going to get people out of the shop, kind of civilians getting hurt. Ginny looked at Chi in surprise. I've never heard him say anything like that before, she thought, glancing over his side profile. He's usually the one who wants to go after the villain first. Okay then, sounds like a plan. Let's go and do our thing, Soshi said. Condor and Seismic Kana will be here soon, so we just need to keep this thief busy for a moment, then they'll step in. And if they don't, then you can both rely on me to kick his ass, Chi said with a determined growl in his voice. Ah, there he is, Ginny thought with a giggle. The students all nodded at each other, and they went back to their respective duties, heads held high with new determination. Soshi quickly made his way to one of the vents near the back of the building and made himself an ice ladder to use so that he could get up and reach the latch on the vent and open it. Gingerly he cracked it open and looked in, making sure the coast was clear before placing both hands up into the opening and blasting ice as far down the pipeline as he could. She'll keep you busy, thief, he smirked internally as he went hard to pump as much ice-cold air out as possible. Meanwhile, Ginny had run to the manager's office and knocked quickly on his door. Ah, Rana, please come in, the manager said, getting up from the desk and walking around to her. Sir, she whispered softly, looking up at the vent overhead, we have reason to believe the thief is here. Please, can I have the blueprints to the store so that I can close off the vents with my quirk? The manager nodded and ran back to his desk and then handed her the blueprints. I have tried to call Condor and Seismic Kana, but have not been able to contact them, he said in an apologetic tone. I will keep trying though. She nodded and took the blueprints from him. Okay, we'll hold off this guy until they get here, she said with a smile before turning and running from the room while unfurling the blueprints in hand. As she got halfway down the back hall, she stopped and found a vent above her and then lay the prints out on the floor and quickly detailed where all the vents were. Pressing her fingers to the ground, she exuded as much of her quirk as possible, sliding the glue up the walls and locking down as many vents as she could reach. Take that, she thought proudly, as her glue swiftly slid along to the furthest vent. Due to the nature of Ginny's quirk, she had to hold the glue in a solid state and thus remain on the ground with the glue splayed out from her fingers, her body starting to tremble slightly with the fatigue of holding such a vast amount out at once. As the two classmates worked to keep the thief in the vents, Chi calmly sauntered back to the front area and made his way to Asana's side, noticing that she hadn't said anything when he walked up. He looked at her. She kept her head down. Hey, he said in a low voice. What's wrong? Nothing, she whispered fearfully, clutching her hands together in front of her body. Chi eyed her body language and then looked up overhead to a vent that was right above her. Sliding up closer, he craned his head next to her ear so he could talk to her without being heard by anyone else. Did you just put some jewels in your pocket or something? He whispered lowly. Her head shot up and she quickly looked at him, her face mere inches from his, as her petrified eyes stared into his calm red ones. How did you know? She whispered in horror. I swear I didn't mean to do it. I felt like I was being forced to... It's okay. Keep you cool, he whispered. Do you have money hardships? I'm working 3 jobs to help my mum. She's really sick and she can't work, but I didn't steal for that. I promise. Please believe me. I want to put it back, but every time I try, my hands won't let me. It just makes me put it in my pocket again. Shh. Chi hushed her gently, seeing that she was getting worked up. It's okay, he added as he looked up and around the shop. My name isn't Genji. It's Chisuki Bakugou. I'm a hero in training on an undercover mission. Her eyes widened and relief washed over her face at his sudden announcement. We know there's a thief that's just turned up today, but don't worry, I'm going to take the bastard down. I knew you were a hero. I could feel it, she said softly with delight. Please save me. I'm going to save everyone here, he said, But first, I've got to get you all out of the store so I can do some damage, not hurt anyone. Is there anyone else here who could possibly be a victim, aside from you? Anyone else who has money hardships? Yes, Asana replied. The guy who was with your classmate, Jinko, his wife just had a baby, but it needs surgery, so he's been working overtime to make more money so he can pay for the treatment. Chi nodded and looked over to Jinko. The man had his head down, looking very sorrowful. Stay here. Act as normal as possible, Chi said to Asana. I'm going to talk to Jinko. Calmly he walked around Asana, over to where the older man was on the ring display, and approached him from the side. Hey, he greeted in a low voice. Jinko looked at him and gave him a small nod. Did you just get forced to put something in your pocket? Chi asked softly. Jinko's eyes teared up and he nodded sadly. I'm not trying to steal, he said in a completely broken voice. I felt forced to put some rings in a small bag and then put them under the bench here. What's gonna happen? Stay tuned for chapter 43 coming tomorrow.